camp could not be placed. Which camp did I have up? I don't even know. That one. Anyway, I need to, before I start, I need to check and see if this stream is working. Oh, yep, up and running. So howdy. Happy Valentine's Day. And all that means to you. Whatever you want it to mean. Let me get back into the game. There we go. Oh, hey, it didn't crash this time. Yesterday I tabbed out, or it was the day before yesterday I tabbed out and it crashed. Yesterday the game crashed on me for no reason at all. It just blacked out. I had to restart my whole computer because I couldn't even bring up the task manager to close it. That's why I guess I was here. Oh, my sound is very, very low. There we go. All right. So what do I need to do? There's some cake and pie and candy. Workshop, cigarettes, Nuka cranberries. I am lower on those than I am on anything else. Angler's got to go. That's better. Snallygassers. Yeah, I'll re-roll that too. Always got to re-roll 2 things. Super mutant heads. I guess that goes along with the super mutant hounds. Yeah. So first, I think I'm going to go get the cigarettes before somebody else goes to where I usually go and gets them all. I'm just going to get what I need. How many do I need? 5? Yeah. Yep. A little bit tired today. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Yesterday, last couple days have been long. I have 2 old pieces of equipment, woodworking tools. Well, I guess one of them's woodworking. One of them can be woodworking or metal or anything. Anyway, I'm going to save these for the next person to come in. You know what? I'm going to get this donk out of the way. Where in the hell is it? It's under me. But, yeah, it's a book. The books are in here. I don't know of any place down. Oh, yeah, there is one place downstairs that might have a book.
Chamber is it's feeling empty. Or is that my combobulating unit?
But anyway, I have a 1940s Craftsman drill press and a 1950s Craftsman Craftsman Parks wood planer, flatness planer. And yeah, there's right here. Yeah. And the planer has been in the back of my car. I got a Honda CRV, and in the back part, I had this planer which weighed about 400 pounds in the back for, I think, around 2 months.
Where's Lois anyway?
Pretty sure I got it before Christmas.
Get to talk much. tell him how swell I'm doing.
So it's been just sitting in there. I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't have any place to put it. I was going to try to put it in storage, but I couldn't do it by myself, for one thing. And I didn't really have enough room in there for it. And in my shop was messed up because I was painting, doing all kinds of things in there. Oh, let me get these cigarettes. Let's get just loose cigarettes. That'll give me 5. There's more over here. There's 3 right there. That's it. And there's plenty of cigarettes in here. If you're ever looking for cigarettes, I got 5 there. There's other ashtrays laying around in here that have them in it. Oh, there's a pack and a cigarette. There's one in that ashtray. 2, 3. 3 in that ashtray. There's also some cigars behind the counter here. And nothing in that ashtray. But there's also the ones upstairs that I just left for some other people. While I'm doing this, do I need to do a daily? No, but I'm gonna talk to him anyway and get it on my agenda.
Hot dog, if it ain't my bestest of friends.
But anyway, that freaking planer was in the back of my car for so long. It was so heavy that it was probably costing me more gas to run the damn car. And I went back and forth from here to like 60 miles away, more than a couple times in the last couple months. And all around this lake is really far getting around the lake, and I did a lot of that. I actually drove about 2.5 hours away one day helping some guy. He had to drive his car there, put it in storage, and then him and his wife and his dog had to drive back with me. And I had that planer in the back there then, and that was going over mountains, and yeah, I'm sure it wasted a lot of gas. And anyway, yesterday I finally figured out a way. I rigged up some 2x6s around the side, and I strapped them down with some ratchet straps, and got one other person to help me, and we grabbed it by those 2x6s and got it out of there. And I put it in the shop on an old boy, he's loud. Put it on an old end table that I have in there in the shop that I put wheels on. Some end table that somebody threw away or something, I don't know. But it works good, and it was just the right size. I put that on top, and now I could roll it around, and it's got wheels with, brakes on the wheels. And then I had the stupid idea of going to my storage and getting my drill press out. And it's one of those 6-foot high drill presses, and it probably weighs a good 250 pounds. And I had to finagle it over to the car, lean it into the car, and it's really top heavy. The top itself has most of the weight, and it's got this big giant cast iron base to compensate for the top heavy weight. The top heavy weight is because the motor is up at the top, and all the pulleys and everything that run the drill itself is all at the very top, and a big giant cast iron cover that goes over the top of it. It's bigger. It's an industrial size drill press. It's the industrial ones that they had. They had some cut down models that didn't have the big cover over the top. It just showed all the gears or the pulleys and the belts and stuff. But this one is heavy, top heavy, and it's because of how top heavy it is, the base is huge. Cast iron. The base alone probably weighs a good 80 to 100 pounds, and that's just to keep it from tipping over, I guess. But I had to finagle it over, and I leaned the top end first into the back of the Oh, hey, charisma. That's an easy one. Into the back of the, CRV. Lifted up the base and tried to slide it in on the the rod, the pole, and that wasn't working. So I put a top of a like a Rubbermaid tote underneath it so it'd slide better. And I had to put one up on the head. Finally, I had the seats down because it's 6 foot tall. I had the back seats down. I had to even push the passenger front seat completely forward so it would fit. And because it's not completely flat in the back of there, the seats are just laid on themselves, so they're still as high as the width of the seat. So I had to get in there standing up with just bent over. Luckily I could fit in there and I had to lift it and inch it up onto the back of the seat. And then I got one of them tote lids and put it under that side too, so it didn't rip the seat. And then I got to the back and I pushed it until I got the base of it up against the back of the back of the car right there where the bumper and everything is. And I had to turn that and push and jiggle and push and jiggle and flop the top, which was on the back of the seat, sliding on the freaking plastic thing, back and forth so it didn't catch on something. I had to flop it back and forth and get that base over the edge of the back of the car until I finally got it in. I got it up against it, and then I had to go back around and stand up again over the front, the top of the thing, and lift it up just enough to pull it in the rest of the way, because it wouldn't budge anymore. So I had to pull it the rest of the way in once I got the base over the edge and got it close enough in so I can slam the door. That was a pain. It was a lot easier getting out, I'll tell you that. It just, because since that plastic lid was still there, the Rubbermaid lid was still there, just once I got the base over the edge, I just slid it out. And it was a lot easier getting out. Luckily my neighbor had a good dolly, so I dollied it in after that. Got it inside the shed, so I got both of them inside the shed now, which were great, man. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to get those things in there. I need to restore both of them. Actually, I could use the drill press, but when I was looking at it, I was getting ready to plug it in just to test it, and I noticed that the plug was a little funky. So I took the plug apart and noticed the wires were brittle. The insulation was so old because it was from the 1940s. That's what, over 90 years old, or over 80 years old. I cut back the wire and went in about 6 inches, and it was still brittle. So I'm going to take that whole thing. I didn't even plug it in. I'm going to take the whole wire, the whole cord off, and get a new cord for it. But then I could actually use it. But I'm going to test or take apart the motor a little bit first and look inside, make sure that I'm going to have to take the back off the motor just to rewire, put the plug in. But rewire the plug. But while it's off, I can look inside there and see if there's any other plastic or rubber that has got old. But I want to use that at least temporarily the way it is, rusty and old, until I can get it restored. I'm going to restore it myself. I'm not going to get it restored. I'm going to restore it. It's got a couple coats of paint over it. I noticed I've noticed this for a long time. The emblem that says Craftsman on the front, or it's actually on the side of it, but it's completely painted over, and I scratched it a little bit, and it looks like there's at least 3 coats of paint, different color, probably just primer. and then paint. But yeah, I need to get all that off. Since I don't have a sandblaster, and I don't even think there's a sandblaster around where I live. So anybody with a sandblaster. Okay, what am I doing? Oh, I got to drink the vodka and buy something. This is the second time that I've had charisma. What am I doing? There we go.
Now trading for supplies.
But anyway,
and
that was my adventures
ammunition
yesterday.
And gear.
So anything, huh? Right. He's got... Oh, that's the cheapest thing he's got. That'll work.
Be sure to stop.
Okay, can I get anything that I
while
need
you
around
can.
here? Workshop asbestos. Nope, nope, nope. I can get some candy and eat it though, out of here. Nope. Halloween, Halloween. I'm almost out of Halloween candy. How many months has Halloween been? I've still got some. It doesn't weigh anything, so I just keep it. Just in case I need it, like now. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Anyway, let me check the chat. I hope tab it out's not going to make me... Oh. Where is it? Oh, nobody here. Somebody was viewing and left, looks like. Probably didn't like my whole craftsman story. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about life. I'm sorry my life is boring. No, it's not really. It's not really. I enjoy everything about it. I'm in a place in my life where I just want to kick back and enjoy things, man. Enjoy living. Enjoy the understanding that I have about living. Which I'm not going to get into. Then I'll really scare away everybody. I was told not to do that anymore. But I will. But just not on a game video anymore. Just a little bit here and there. Okay. Asbestos. Workshop. I can go do a workshop real quick. Let me do one of the harder ones. You know what? Should I do that? Somebody already get this one over here? Nope. I'll get that one. That one's pretty easy. Until some bastards get stuck in the lake over there. All I got to do is claim it. I don't have to reclaim it, so that's good enough. I'll just claim it real quick. I got a better gun than this. There we go. You talking to me? I need to take the stock off of this. Somebody was telling me that the stock is what's making it not a pistol. I want it to be a pistol. I love this gun though. It's a little bit slow and it takes a while to reload. But it sure stops some bastard in their tracks. And that one's already dead. No, I didn't kill him. Never mind. What's funny about this gun, that's why I thought that I might have killed those guys, is that if you shoot something, it kills things around them. And I was thinking, since I shot this guy downstairs, it might have went through the walls and killed him. Because this thing's weird. This gun is a trip. So I don't see anybody else. Is this? Oh yeah, okay. I guess I didn't see it pop up. It usually pops up with something. When you've shot all of the ghouls out here, it'll pop up with this. I think it just gives you like 25 caps or something. I didn't see it pop up that time. I wasn't paying attention, I guess. All right, got that. What the hell kind of... What is that? I got a weird player icon. I'm going to have to change that after I get the hell out of here. Let me go... Wait, asbestos. Asbestos. There might be some over here at the Fox Hut. Fox Shack. The Love Shack. Yep, it's Valentine's Day. Love Shack. A little old shack where we can get together, yeah. That's the worst cover of that song ever. Now there was when I was in my 20s, there was a lot of new wave coming out, new wave music.
I'm so glad I
Well,
finally caught up
I'm
with
not
you.
so glad you found me.
Congratulations!
On my face.
You have been randomly selected to win a fabulous
you know what?
prize
Does
from the Great
asbestos
Appalachian
or
Sweepstakes.
Abraxo has asbestos in it, I think.
We've updated our privacy policy.
don't
As a
know.
monthly prize winner, your name, likeness, and other personal information.
Shut up. Sorry, bot. He gives me a prize, but then says that I'm gonna owe a bunch of money. Okay, I don't know if I got enough asbestos, but I'm gonna go kill some super mutants and a hound over here. So I'm already over this direction. Oh, 3 hounds. 3 hounds. I don't know if there's 3 of them here. And I gotta wait because of these bastards. Is that the scrawniest looking fox you ever seen? If you ever actually seen a fox in real life. They're not scrawny. They're little terrors though. I don't know if I've ever seen one around here where I live now though. I live in a rural area. You'd think there would be foxes. I've seen lots of wildlife, but I don't remember ever seeing a fox here. I think I've seen some foxes in the redwoods on the way to the coast a few times. Oh, hey, there he is. Head. There we go. Boom. No, he's hiding. Come on, you retard. You can't shoot me through it. Oh, there you go. Now you're gonna shoot me. Come on. Can I get you? There he goes. Not one. Took 6 shots to get him. Second one was not so lucky. For him. Where's his mutt? This guy this guy on the street here usually has a dog with him. I don't see him. Don't smell him. Okay, before I go in here, I'll check the chat again real quick. Hey Jack, what's up? Clean the house. So, not gonna be in chat. Yeah. In the stock that makes rifle. Yep. I gotta remember to take it off sooner or later. Able to punch through 3 enemies if they are in a row, and also does area damage if you have explosive mod. Well, I have the explosive. It automatically has the explosive mod on it, but I also have explosive legendary on it too. But it actually not just regular explosive damage. I don't know what's up with explosive damage, or if the bullet splinters or something, but I've seen it shoot something, and there was people that weren't within the blast radius where they went down also. At least 2 other ones at a time sometimes. Like, look at this, watch. I'm shooting one of them, 2 of them went down. Well, he was in a row though, you're right about that. He was in a row there. Can I get torso? Oh crap. That's the worst part about it, is it reloads real slow. So torso with super mutants I can get one hit him. One shot. Let me try the head. I have a perk card. Oh, okay, yeah, I can one shot him in the head too. Couldn't do it in the arm, it seemed like. I have a perk card that I get more damage doing torso damage. Where is he? Oh. And these guys don't have any mutts. Come on. It's not real accurate. That one of the new mods from the Love Hurts thing is supposed to give it more accuracy, and I think it's the stock. If I take the stock off, I'll get rid of the accuracy. That kind of sucks because it's already inaccurate, and that's supposed to give it more accuracy, and it's still not real great.
What the?
Took 3 shots. What you doing out here? Why weren't they after you? Yeah, there was no dogs here. Okay. A place I didn't want to go. I guess I'll go. West deck, there it is. Yeah, Jack, if somebody gets on that is a mod, can't remember how it shows mods on here anymore. They've changed it. But if somebody gets on that's a mod, probably a Blue Jay or something, just I don't even know if Blue Jay knows how to put a link to the Discord. Never mind. I'll try to remember to do it. Oh shit! Where's he at? There's a suicider somewhere. So I don't see any freaking dogs. I can get 3 of them on the inside though. If I don't see any, get any on the outside. Just really didn't want to come in here. This place is a pain. I get lost in there too. I've been in there 100 times and I still get lost sometimes. But yeah, I've crashed the last 2 times I've played this game. And I have a feeling that if I try to bring up Discord, it's going to make it crash again. There you are. Oh, and you. There might be a hound out here. Yesterday I was at one of my camps and I tabbed out, and when I heard a super mutant dog or hound, hound dog, they make that big loud noise, and I got back in and I could not find it anywhere. I don't know where it was. I could hear something gnawing on one of my walls or something too. I got back in the game, and there was nothing there. I couldn't find him anywhere. I looked all over the place. I don't know what the heck was going on, but I could distinctly heard that hound there. He didn't even make a noise. Oh shit! Oh, that's the worst thing about this gun. Sometimes I didn't even notice how low my health was to start with, but it doesn't really matter with this gun. It'll freaking one-shot me if something's too close to me when I shoot it. Oh shit! Where'd he come from? That's that same Raider Hunter that was over. No, he has a different helmet on. The other guy had a hood. I have never got a gun that will one-shot myself, and this one will. I got to really pay attention to my health because I don't think I was. I don't know. I don't know. Somebody's texting me. It's either Ace Hardware or Safeway. I wish they wouldn't send me so many freaking messages. I mentioned this before. I buy a lot of. Well, I buy food on sale at Safeway. I can't afford them any other way. Any other wise. Is that proper English? I don't even know. But I buy a lot of tools too. And the only way I can get with those two places, the only way I can get the real good deals is to be on their app.
Someone there?
I hate all the messages that I have. Oh, see, look at that. I was almost full of health. I wasn't all the way full, but I was pretty close. I was about as far as I'm going to be right now. I was at least that full. Wait, no, it's still going up. Never mind. I was at least in the 80s. And it one-shotted me down to a little sliver left. Now, it didn't one-shot me, but it almost did. When I shot at that thing, because it was the hound, because it was right in my face. I got to switch guns when I'm in here, man. Oh, what? That's not how you switch guns, dummy. You know. Wait, let me get that on one of them, but I'm pressing all of the wrong buttons. I'm going to change my second gun to this one. This one's got explosive. Watch. That takes a lot of shots to get my health all the way down. That's explosive rounds. The explosive rounds that are in the mod of that Don Pedro are crazy. I mean, it takes, what, about 20 shots to kill myself with this gun, and it's got explosive rounds. That one almost one-shots me every time. I could test that if I wanted to. I don't know if I want to. Hey, buddy! And there's a dog behind me. Oh, no. He's shooting me in the back. I didn't even hear him. Hey, any good stuff in here? No. No. Damn super mutants taking all the drugs. Taking them all for themselves. Oh, hey, there's a dog. Oh, that's all. Get the heck out of here. Wait, let me shoot these guys first. Some wide ammo. Oh, another dog. Beats dying every 5 minutes, though. I like my handmade. If I wasn't Christian, I'd make a joke about that. I guess even being Christian, I can mention this part. So there's this TV show, or whatever you want to call it, this series. I think it's on Hulu or Netflix or something, called Handmaid Tales. I watched the first season of that, and it was interesting. I was just wondering what all the huff about it was, you know. Everybody was bitching about it. Some people were bitching about it. Some people were praising it. So I wanted to see hubbub. That's what I was trying to say about it. I wanted to see what it was about. So I watched the first season of it, and it was just sad. It seemed like it was really good made, very well made. See, hey, I actually spoke in proper English that time. Well made. But it just exterior oop. But the whole premise of it is totally blown out of proportion in any sense of reality. And people were treating it, especially people on the left, were treating it like that could actually happen. This is what we mean by misogyny, blah, 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 blah. What?
Sir?
And the people on
Good evening.
on the right, would you get out of my way? Were completely going off the rails, like this is what the left thinks that the right's like, which is kind of true. But it was just, I think it was just a really strong progressive liberal media that was like praising it, and then there was the I don't even know how to put it. The white soccer mom liberal women, middle-aged, upper middle class, freaking very privileged, who wouldn't give up their own shit but bitch about everybody else having shit, you know. That type of person. Those people, like we're praising it as this is the perfect example of how society is leading if the quote unquote Nazis take over the country like they're trying to. Totally delusional view of society. One thing, the right are not Nazis. I mean, I've got a lot more conservative since I got older. I see a lot of truth in what's going on with the Republicans nowadays. And I see how progressives have just lost their shit over it. Yep, that's what I needed. Got it all. I'm more centrist. Since I became a Christian, I really see that a lot more sense in why the Christians are more conservative. But I think Christians are on the moderate side of conservatism compared to a lot of people, and they seem to really take the crap for that, you know. Oh, I haven't went and talked to Biv again. But I see it both ways. Both sides lose. It's when extremism on either side of the, there's actually there's four sides of the political spectrum, and people don't understand that. They just see right and left. There's four sides. Not only is there right and left, there's anarchy and totalitarianism, and that can go on either side. When you get to the extremes, you're closer to totalitarianism, or you're closer to anarchy. So if you get to either side of left or right, you're getting closer to those. So extremism of any kind brings you closer to the two other extremes, which is totalitarianism and anarchy. And you don't want either of those, because totalitarianism is pure tyranny, government tyranny, where they control everything. When anarchy is no laws at all, and criminals control everything. And that's kind of where we're at now, is criminals are starting to control more and more of society.
You want to know what tomorrow's test will be? No sneaky biggies.
But it actually goes both ways, because the government's controlling a lot too. It's weird. It's a weird dichotomy that we have right now in society. It's the weirdest thing ever. I don't think we've ever had this big of a dichotomy in control in the history of the world, really. Only at certain times when there's been real bad, when there's been, if you look at the whole of history and look back, and when there's been real bad dictatorship type monarchs or republics that turned into dictatorships, that turned into like Rome, Nero's Rome, Caligula's Rome, people like that are were just psycho and wanted to control everything. When you get into history and look at things like that, that is the time when it's complete anarchy, and you have it's right before the fall of a certain system. And that's what we're leading into. And it's right before the fall of a certain system. And a lot of times when that happens, there was a self-correction mechanism where we self-corrected, so there wasn't total chaos and anarchy before it got better. But we're getting close to it, and it's usually when a government tries to get too powerful, take too much power from the people, and the people rebel back, and it gets total anarchy. Like the biggest example of that is the French Revolution. And it's also the biggest example of how
Once upon a time, there
bad
was a
things
brave
can
in a
get.
jar, and he lived
That was probably
happily ever after.
the worst time in the last 500 years of how bad things got in a state like that. Rome was different because they just ended up getting conquered from within by, well, they got sacked quite a few times by barbarians and their own army a few times. It was all in the
There is
late
no law in
300s
getting
and
here,
early
you
400s,
No way.
or all the way into the mid
Full-time
400s,
army, and this cellar is my stellar
5th century, until they finally got taken over by a barbarian leader. But they did that without any bloodshed. The barbarians just took over. But they were not just barbarians, they were Christian barbarians, which is weird, you know. And Rome, a lot of people don't realize this. They don't realize that the fall of Rome happened after the Christian takeover of Rome. After Rome was actually went completely Christian. Their state religion was Christian by that time. But they were also conquered by Christian barbarians. They were the original Aryans. Well, they weren't the original. The original ones were actually in Israel. Anyway, I got all that done. Now what can I wanted to do a few more things today, since I got done with that pretty quick. Anyway, enough of the history lesson. I was watching a video and somebody was talking about the fall of Rome yesterday, and it got me thinking about it. And I was thinking about what I remember of history and what I've studied throughout my life. And the History Channel, I used to watch a lot of the History Channel when it first came out, when they actually had good shows. There was a couple other channels, like Discovery was real good back in the day. And I used to always go to the library and check out books on different historical eras, and watch documentaries and things like that. So from what I remembered about that time, didn't jive with what was in that video. And so I figured, well, hey, we got AI now. I'll ask AI. So I freaking spent about an hour just asking Google AI a bunch of questions about Roman Empire. So it's all fresh in my mind now. And I don't just believe anything that, because Google AI, any AI, they're just accumulating data from the internet. So they can't really decipher what's true and what's not, the AIs. But with a consensus of the data that they're accumulating, they can postulate, or is that when they stick your finger up your butt? Is that what? No, that's proctology. Okay, never mind. That's gross. Anyway, postulate, postate. That's more of a Christian thing. Postate. Postulate. Oh, whatever. They compare, and they come up with a synopsis and a summary, and they can kind of tell what's true and what's not. But you have to ask the right questions. So I refine. You got to refine your questions. Do a deep dive and refine your questions, and they'll give you a bunch of different answers. And you look through those and you read them all, and then come up with a better question so they can refine their answers. So I got some good info on them, and that actually went along with a lot of what I remember when I was younger. You know, I had to. When you get old, you kind of forget a lot of that crap. So you have to try to trigger your memories. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. What camp do I even have up right now? I don't even have a camp up, do I? Let me open a camp. I got to do something here. Yeah, that's why I when I mentioned the fall of a civilization, I started going into Rome. And that's what started me thinking about the whole how that compares to nowadays too. And it's you know the old saying, it takes two to tango. Oh, there's a lot of sayings that came off of that. It takes two. And that's what a lot of people on both sides of any issue, especially political stuff, both sides think they're completely right. And that's what ends up screwing things over, is because if one side believes something and the other side just ignores it, then nothing comes of it. That's not completely right. That's not accurate. If one side, say politically, if one side believes something, if the other side can ignore it without it taking effect, if they can find good arguments against it that make sense to everybody, then everybody ignores it and it never takes effect. But when one side gets completely to the extreme, then they brainwash people into believing what they believe. And then the other side can do one of two things. They can come up with good answers of why that's wrong, but a lot of people still don't believe it. But what ends up happening most times is that the other side starts getting into the extreme itself. And then you have two extremes. And both sides don't have any give at all. And I think that's the biggest problem. And then, yeah, that's the two, it takes two. But then the people that get hurt are the people that are in the middle. Everybody, in this case, when it's political. The biggest problem with that is that one side could get too extreme before anybody else even knows it. That's what happened in Germany, but this extreme went to the right in before World War II, and that's what happened with Russia in the Russian Revolution, but the extreme went too far to the left. Before anybody knew it. In the United States, I think it's kind of, the extremes are balancing themselves out now, but for a long time it was just the left that was at the extreme, and they're still there. And I think it's getting worse because now the right is fighting back. But I don't think the right is really at an extreme. Not everybody, not most of us, or not most of. Well, I guess I consider myself on the right now because the left is so far to the left that there's no. That's either their way or the highway. You know, they got so far to the left that they think that if anybody's against them in any subject, then they're against them on every subject. And that's the real battle with that. That's the real problem with that being that extreme. I mean, I've got actually people that I think are really good people that I personally know that believe everything that left says, and I also know people that believe everything that the right says. But I think the right is just reacting to that, and it could be too late, and that's the problem. Is it sneaks up on you, and until the extremists have control. And I think that's why some people are going too far. And this is the thing that set Germany apart on the right, is that they were, and it actually set, which is kind of what's going on now, that set Russia apart on the left during the Russian Revolution, is a lack of, or a bastardization of religion, of Christianity. Nowadays, it's a bastardization of Christianity and atheism that's taken over the left. In Germany, it was just the occult that was taken over the right, at least the leaders. I don't think they really had any other beliefs except for some occultism, which is pretty much Satanism. But the problem that we're having now is that Christians are pretty much pacifists unless they get pushed into a corner. So for the last 40 years that I can count, since I've been alive for almost 70 years. For the last 40 years, the left has been picking at the right, little by little, inching their way. Where if there's some kind of conflict in the government or in politics or in society itself, the right would hold their ground a little bit. The left would inch a little closer and then try to hold their ground, and then the left would not compromise. The right would end up compromising. So the left went a little bit more left, and the right went a little bit more left in their compromising, and the left would get to another point and stick to their guns and say, this is the way things have to be, and where there is no compromise. And then eventually the right would compromise. The left compromises on they would act like they were compromising on some things, but they figured, well, we'll get that one next time. And so the right thought, well, they're compromising a little bit, so let's compromise. But the thing that the rights were compromising on were the big things. The left was compromising on the little things, and they could throw those in next time or down the line a little bit. They were looking at the long game. And little by little, the whole middle ground kept moving further and further left. So now we got to a point where the leftists are almost to where Stalin was in Russia, and the right are a little left of the center 40 years ago. The right are more left than the left-leaning Democrats 20, 30, 40 years ago. I just saw this video of Obama talking about immigration back in 2010. The speech sounds like something that Trump would be saying right now. So Trump is talking about things that Obama was strong on just 16 years ago. And people are calling Trump a Nazi for it. And they were praising Obama for it 16 years ago. So we got this really screwed up way of looking at things. And it's all based on the fact that Christians are pacifists by nature, and they tend to be more conservative. They just want to be left alone, and they don't see what liberals are doing under their noses, or they try to ignore it. That's where it goes back to what I was saying about they try to ignore it. They try to
It's hard work making a living out here.
They try to ignore it until it's right under the nose, and then they get backed into a corner, and then they end up fighting back, but sometimes it's too late. And that's kind of what happened in
Sonny makes a good hoagie.
no, I can't say that. Yeah, it has happened in some communist countries that turned communist. And I want to say it happened that's what happened in the French Revolution, but that's not exactly what happened. The French Revolution was a unique instance, man. But it actually was a lot like the French Revolution. What we are going through right now in the United States could very well turn into something similar to the French Revolution, where everybody's going after everybody else, and then the trouble is that the left gets so far left that they'll join together, and they call this right now, they call it intersectionality. Well, that's a phrase that was about 10 years old now, but that's pretty much what they're doing. It's cultural Marxism, where all of the people that think they're oppressed are getting together, no matter what their differences are, until they can get rid of the source of their oppression, and then they fight against each other. That's what happened with the French Revolution. To the point where the leaders of the early French Revolution got their heads cut off at the end of the French Revolution. All but Napoleon, for some reason. And his followers. Well, that's not that. The reason is because of that. But anyway, right now, this is the weirdest pairing of people is the trans crowd are buddy right now with the Muslims. Think about that. Why? Why are they doing that? If the trans people, any single one of them, was in any of the origins of the countries that these people, the Muslims, came from, in the Middle East, they'd be thrown off buildings, or their heads would be cut off. In a lot of the countries, they are illegal. But yet they're siding with American Muslims to get enough power so that they can get back at the oppressors, the people that say that they shouldn't be demanding respect without earning it. I don't know how to put that. And then what happens? What would happen if the left would completely win and they became socialists and they got rid and actually executed all the Republicans? They got their way. Now what? Think about that. What would happen? Every little faction of the left would break up into factions, like in Fallout universe, how they have all these different factions. Especially Fallout New Vegas. Think about the factions in there, man. You got the Brotherhood. You got the Caesar's Legion. You got House and his whole freaking capitalist dreams and shit, you know. And then you got the Vault Dwellers that are all being used by the extreme capitalists. And then you got just the normal people. Anyway, right now on the left you have Muslims, which would completely break up into their own faction. You have trans, which would completely break up into their own factions. And then you have some militant, well, you already have some militant trans already. You have the soccer mom, liberal hippies, the older ones, you know, the people my age in their 60s and 70s and even in their 80s. They all grew up in a time of the hippie revolution, you know. And a lot of them are still really super liberal. They would break up, but they're so old that they can't do anything. But then there's the younger yuppies and the hipsters that kind of came off of that, but are more me. They'd break up into another faction. Then you would have the elite liberals, like Kamala Harris and Biden's crowd, and freaking Warren, and who am I missing? AOC, the communists. They would break up into their own faction. Then they would be fighting against each other, and they'd see how many people they can get under that freaking guillotine. until there's only one party left. And no matter which party it is, the rest of us would pay. Because it would be a complete extreme bastardization of anything that they believe now. Anyway, a scary thought. I just don't see any good coming out of it. I wish people would just understand that we can't let any extremes rule us. That's why the United States was set up the way it was, because the whole world, since the beginning of time, were controlled by extremists, people that had their own idea of how to run the world, and they wanted the rest of the world to live that way. Alexander the Great, freaking Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan, Attila the Hun, the Roman Legion. They all had one thing in common, and Hitler. They all had one thing in common, as they wanted to conquer the world and make the world the way they wanted it to be. Without God. without a supreme being to give them moral guidance. So it's whatever they thought was right. Period. Ooh, that gun just about killed me. Problem with any of these explosive guns, when I'm in here, I'm trying not to blow things all over the place because I want to find something here. Looking for some Nuka cranberry. There's not one in here this time. Why am I getting so many? What the heck? It's only 2. Sounded like more than that popping up. Anyway, it's just crazy. Our only bet, our only chance of getting a decent world going is to let people believe what they want to believe, live the way they want to live, as long as they do not bother other people. And when they do bother other people, have a decent set of laws that are enforceable and stay enforced to keep them from doing bad things, or to deter them from doing bad things against each other. What? I didn't even check over there behind there, did I? Sometimes there's a cranberry back here somewhere. Nope. But that whole thing means that we got to limit government. We have to have government and we have to have laws, but we don't want them encroaching in our personal business. Only time government should interfere at all is when we're at each other's throats. When people are doing things against other people. Ow. And that means, even for Christians, that you have to let other people live the way they want to live. Let God sort it out in the end. If somebody tries to push somebody else's beliefs on anybody, then the government should step in and stop them. That's where the whole freedom of religion comes in. The trans people should not be pushing their ideas and their personal beliefs on the totalitarian, I don't even know the word. The total of society. Totality? That's it. The totality of society. And Christians should not do the same thing. Christians are not supposed to do that. At least Protestants are not supposed to do that. Protestants believe that everybody has free will, and everybody has the right to free will, and everybody has the option of whether to believe in God or not. And if they don't, that's on them. If they do, then they shouldn't force it on anybody else. Our primary goal as a Christian is to let people know the benefits and the reasons why we are Christian, and letting them make up their own mind. And if they choose another path, that's their own business. It's something they'll have to live with. They should know how much better their life could be if they chose the right path. But they shouldn't be forced to believe it by law or any other reality. So when Christians come up and people say they're trying to push their beliefs on people, if they're trying to push their beliefs, they're doing something wrong. If they're just trying to explain their beliefs, that's a different story. Oh, crap. South face. Oh, and roll around. And that's how it should be everywhere. That's how the government should be ran, is to let people have enough room in their lives to make up their own mind what they want to believe. And for them to also have the freedom to tell other people why they believe what they believe, and then let the court of public opinion work in their favor. Although everybody tries to demonize everybody else's beliefs. But the problem with, if anybody, any of the extremists on the right or left get too much control, then nobody's going to have that choice. So the best bet for any society or any American society is you find the group that lets people believe what they want to believe without pushing it on them through government, without trying to change the laws to benefit their beliefs, only their beliefs. I have not found one cranberry, period, today. And show you the truth, that the one that would do that is Christianity. And that's why the United States was built on biblical principles. Because that lets the most people do what they want to do and pursue the pursuit of happiness. And that's, well, it's not all Christianity. It's Protestant Christianity would be like that. I'm not saying anything bad about Catholicism or Eastern Orthodox, or, well, I got a few bad things to say about a couple other sects that think that they're Christian, but they're actually not. But I'm not even going to mention who they are right now. But I'd say almost all Protestant-based religions believe in that freedom, and that's what the United States was founded on. They believe in freedom of choice. They believe in free will. They believe in giving somebody enough rope to hang themselves if they want to. You know, that's metaphorical, not a literal hang themselves. Yeah. Man, I said I wasn't. I said about a half hour ago, no more history lessons. This is actually not really history, though. It's modern. It's talking about what's going on right now. And because I've been studying it a lot lately, it ends up turning a little bit biblical for me. Most things, most outlooks now, I find biblical truth in anymore. But it all makes sense. And if it doesn't, you know, if anybody watching this thinks that I could be wrong about some of this stuff, which, you know, I'm an imperfect human, and that's another thing about Christianity, is we understand that all of us are imperfect. I'm an imperfect human being. I am faulty. All of us are faulty. So I may be seeing this stuff totally wrong. But after 67 years of experience and seeing the changes all around me in real time,
Great. Now it's going to be pouring down rain.
I have a little bit of an insight into what may be wrong. And knowing how I've felt all my life about different things and different things that I've believed in at the times, and the solutions that I thought were right at the times, that were actually only maybe partially right, I've come to the ultimate conclusion that that smaller government that gives you the freedom to make your own stupid decisions is the best. And the only way we're going to make decent decisions is by following the best example we can. Even if you don't believe in him, just follow his example anyway. And that's Jesus. If you want to be in the pursuit of happiness. And if you just follow one of the guidelines, I could see there's a lot of New Age religions. Well, it's all kind of one big thing now. But it's not biblical. But at least they follow the love part of it. They want you to love your fellow man. But there's a lot of hypocrisy in that because they don't understand why. But even if that's all you believe, then you're on the right track. At least you're trying to be a good person. And maybe that'll lead you to the right conclusion. So I don't diss anybody. I don't disrespect anybody
It's
for
just about time to eat.
trying to become a good person. It's the people that don't give a crap. I don't have respect for. They don't care how they treat other people.
Now that people have come back to this area, they'll all want to be setting up places like Sunday.
Anyway, let me check chat again. I've been going on and on and on. Just I was thinking of these things last night, and I was thinking of them again today. And this is one of my biggest ways to let that stuff out. Zero, what's up, man? Try outside West Tech. Oh yeah, I did that, didn't I? Closer to the door, the two spawn. But I don't know, maybe. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Somebody killed him. On the inside, though, I think it's a separate instance, so you can go in even if somebody else already went in and killed him. That's why I said that a while ago, is that if I go inside, I'll find him. And that's what happened. Fat Man will one-shot you out indoors at low levels. Yeah. You know how many times I've killed myself with a Fat Man when I first started playing Fallout? I think it was Fallout New Vegas. I think it was the first game. It definitely was the first Fallout game that I ever played. And I blew myself up with that thing a lot of times. It'll one-shot you anytime in New Vegas. In this game, you can survive if you have the right armor on and stuff like that. And if somebody else is shooting it, it doesn't hurt you at all. That's a good thing. Unless you have, like, PvP off or on or whatever. Yeah. That's like a chummable show. I can't read that from here. Churiable? I can't read it. Hold on a minute. Churnable? Oh, you're talking about Handmaiden Tales? Yeah. Yeah, I forgot I was talking about that. I never even did make my point on that. It was just too out there. Everyone was praising it, so I watched it. Yeah, me too. And I found out that they were wrong. But it did have good writing. I got to admit that it had good writing, but the writers had a weird agenda that they were trying to push, I think. Or maybe they were actually, at first, I think they might have been actually writing it as a, fiction, but too many liberals took it as a fact. That's how things are. If the Christian right take over the world, that's how it's going to end up. They're just going to churnable. There you go. That's what you're saying, huh? It's going to churn out babies. We're going to make baby factories of women. What's cool is I used to watch this TV show called Chuck, and the wife of the guy that was having the baby with the handmaid, she was one of the main stars of Chuck, and I really liked her in Chuck, man. So that's another reason why I watched it, because I think she's cool. She's really cute too. What you talking about, Pale? You were there when the stuff on History Channel happened? Yeah. Yep. I'm just messing with you. Yep. Followers of the Apocalypse. Oh, you talking about in Fallout New Vegas? Forgot about them. That's the cultists, right? Oh, and yeah, and then I think Fallout 4 they had the Sons of Adam, or the Cult of Adam, or something like that. To me, it's always very important to consider the facts that I could be wrong. There are people with more experience than could be more correct. Yep. Oh yeah, I always listen to other people, man. You love Chuck? Yeah, that was a good show, man. But yeah, there's always a chance that you could be wrong, and there's a lot of people that have more experience than you do in certain areas. I always listen to what other people say, and then I do my own research. Even my pastor at church, I went over there about a week and a half ago and gave him a list of how I thought salvation works. It was a chart. I had it in a spreadsheet, and he told me I was wrong on certain points. He didn't actually tell me I was wrong. He asked me questions. That's the way to do it. He asked me questions that made me think about how maybe I was wrong about certain things. So now I need to redo it. A friend of mine asked me for a copy of it, and I haven't gave him a copy of it yet because I need to refine it. But I'm waiting for the pastor too, because had some other questions, and I gave him some Bible verses that explain what I meant by it, by the things that I said. And I want him to read those Bible verses and tell me what he thinks that they mean, and then we could talk about them. But he has more experience than I do in biblical readings, verses and stuff like that. So I defer to his experience and his knowledge of that. But I don't necessarily take it for word. In other words, word is the Bible, biblical truth, until I do the research myself. So I still need to do some research on that. I just haven't had time the last week or so to really dive into it. The children of Adam, that was it. But the followers of the apocalypse were in the doctors in the game. Oh, yeah. Oh, and Fallout New Vegas at the Mormon place there. What was that called? The Mormon fort. That's right. I remember now. It's been a while since I played. Be not judgmental, but curious with others. Yep. Ask why they feel the way or see things that way. That's it. Okay, so we have some Mormons. Speaking of Mormon, we have some Mormons that come around this area. Now, I live in a rural area. I don't even know how they get out here. Maybe they live around here somewhere. But they walk around about once a month or so. I'll see them walking around, and I'm waiting for them to come back because I really want to talk to them, because I found something about Mormons, and I actually did some research on this, and it's true. And I've talked to these guys a few times, but I didn't know this fact. The fact is that in the Mormon Bible, actually, they have more than one. They have the Book of Mormon. They have they use the old King James version, but you know that they never really read it, from what I understand, because the Book of Mormon has the same passages in it, but they rewrote the passages to fit their interpretation. And they have two other books, and I can't remember the names of them. But one of their books talks about their core beliefs. And their main core belief that differs from actual Christianity, and this is why I don't think that it's actual Christianity anymore. Before I was iffy if it was real or not, you know. Now I know for a fact that it's not real Christianity because of this one belief that they believe. They believe that God was once a human, a man of some kind, maybe not human, but from another planet. They believe that God was a man from another planet, and that he died or he became a god. I don't know how he did. He had died first or something. I'm not sure about this part. But he became a god, and he had many, many wives, and he had sons with them wives, one of them being Jesus. And that each one of those sons eventually became a god. And they have many, many wives, and had many, many sons, and each one of them sons became a god. And so that we're all sons of some of God in some way, by lineage or something. I don't understand the whole thing, but we can become gods ourselves. That's not Christianity. I'm sorry that I want to talk to them, and I will. I won't come out and just say that. I'm going to ask them, do you believe this? And they'll say, yeah. And then I'll say, well, John chapter 1. The God was the Word, and the Word is God. God, I can't remember the whole thing. I'm going to have to bring out my Bibles to read it. God had become flesh. I don't know. I can paraphrase it, but I can't get it exact. I've never been good at memorizing Bible phrases for some reason, or Bible verses. But the Bible is the source of all information. Everything that you ever want to know is in there. Everything that you could ever question, every question you can comprehend or come up with, every question that you can imagine an answer to is in there. You just got to look. And it's the last word. You don't need anything more than that. Jesus was the only Son of God. We are all just adopted sons of God if we choose to be that. Jesus was not only the Son of God, he is part of the Godhead, part of the Trinity. He is separate from God the Father, separate from the Holy Spirit, but as a whole, they're all one being. They're all one entity. They're just separate parts of the same entity, separate personages, as I should say. And if they believe anything different, then they're not Christian. And they do believe something different, that God was a man. Okay, this is the question. This is one of the main questions I would ask them. This is what I'd really want to. I need to actually write these down so I don't forget, because I just forgot, and now I remember. The question I want to ask them, because they always come in pairs, so it's them. It's not like they're gay or something, and I'm calling them a plural name with a singular person. There's two of them all the time. Okay, so the question I want to ask them is, if God was a man, who created God? That's, should say, because if they think God had babies, and each of his babies had babies, and all of them eventually turned into God, or some of them turned into gods. I guess some of them could turn into demons. I don't know. I don't know exactly how far their philosophy goes with that. But if they can eventually become gods. Can is the word, can. So if they can't, if they don't, then there's something else. I don't know what those are. But if each one of them can eventually become gods, then that means there was a long lineage even behind God. But eventually, you're going to have to come up with a beginning. They're all talking about linear time here. It's some kind of a linear lineage. That's what a lineage is. It's a linear time. God is outside of time. He's outside of time itself. He is not limited to our understanding of temporal reality. He is the beginning and the end. He is outside of time. He is all. There was nothing before God, because there was no before. It's hard to understand, but it took me a long time to wrap my brains out and figure that out. But as people that's known me for a long time, like Zero, if you're still here, you know that I've always been interested in time travel movies and have a whole philosophy. And I've talked about this before on my streams. I have a whole, this was before I was even considered, well, I always considered myself a Christian, but it was before I really started studying the Bible and started really Bible thumping, I guess what you want to call it. Way before that, I was way into time travel. And so I got this whole backlog of information and my own philosophy on time travel and how many paradoxes it can create. And there's only one way. There is only one way that time travel could ever be possible without any paradoxes. And that is if there's a creator that created one timeline, and nobody can time travel, but he is in all time. He is the time traveler. But it's only because he lives outside of the time. That's way refined from what I used to think, though, about the only way. My original thing was, and they kind of hit on this in the TV series Loki, and a couple of the other Marvel movies went off of that a little bit too, like the Wasp and Ant-Man Quantum Realm movie. This is my original philosophy, is that if time travel was possible and somebody went back in time, the only way they wouldn't create a paradox is if at the point where they went back in time, it branched off into another branch. And that if time travel was possible in the future, everybody would be time traveling. Because if it was possible in one point in time, unless they completely destroyed the technology right after, it would only get more advanced as the years went on. And so everybody would be time traveling by the end. It'd be just like playing a video game. So that meant that every time one of them people time traveled back, it would branch off into a completely separate timeline, a parallel universe, in other words. And then there'd be infinite numbers of parallel universes. But none of us could actually travel to the other universe. Nothing could get us to those other universes, and because it would create a paradox. And then time itself would just blink out of existence. So if somebody from one timeline time traveled to a different timeline, it would branch off again there. So it would just be another branch. It would never be the same branch. And so you could never change time like in Back to the Future, which is a big paradox, because he not only was starting to disappear in the first movie, the future changed anyway. He never got the timeline straight again. So it was separate universes, or it was a paradox, one of the two. Anyway, that's my time travel philosophy. Now I realize that there's only one way that time could ever happen, is if there was one person that was totally in control of time,
About time to eat.
one being totally in control of time, and that being would have to be completely and utterly everything. Omnipowerful, all-powerful, all-knowing, all present, that's the time part, and all benevolent.
If you're here for the show, you're premature.
That means they can be everywhere at once, through every piece of time, through every person on every timeline. He could be with you in spirit every second of the day. All you got to do is ask. And I asked, and he's with me. Anyway, I think that's it for me today. I got to go out and do some things. I think it might rain, so I better hurry up and get out there before it starts raining. And I'm sorry I rambled on too much about that again. I get started on a subject, and it's hard for me to get off of it. I just, seems like all things with me lately lead to the same point, and I cannot just talk about something anymore without looking at it through a biblical lens. because it's like that thing. That old saying. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. They say that about a lot of things, but it's really, really true when it comes to the Bible. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The only thing you can do. So this is the one thing that I've struggled with lately, trying to understand. And this is one of the points that my pastor at church was trying to say that I was wrong about, or trying to explain to me, or asking me questions about so that I would question it, is now how do I explain it? Give me a second. Let me get a drink. Okay. If you are saved, if you ask God for salvation and you repent your sins, how he said there are people that have totally immersed themselves in biblical knowledge and have been on the right path and have asked God for forgiveness and have asked God for salvation, but in later years they just completely reject God and they fall. He says, how do you explain that? And I say, what I told him at the time was, I think that maybe they were never saved in the first place. Because I believe that once you're saved, once you ask God for salvation, it's right in the Bible. Ask and you will receive. And that's what that means. That doesn't mean you just ask for anything and he's going to give it to you. It means that you ask for salvation and you will receive salvation. To me, that's what that means. Also, John 3:16 gave his only begotten Son, so that whoever believeth in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. All you got to do is believe. So I take that as, after that, from that point on, it's forever. But my pastor made a good point. How can you explain somebody that fell from God, from God's grace? They totally reject God's grace. See, that's my point. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And I'm almost starting to understand what he was talking about. But to do that, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You have to physically reject God in all ways and become completely the opposite. In other words, become evil to do that. Because you know the goodness of God at that point. You know what it's done for your own heart. How can you push that away? And if you do push that away, were you ever saved in the first place? Because if you know that, if you can feel that in your heart, at the time that you asked to be saved, if with all your heart you really wanted to be saved at that moment, and God saved you, and then brought that to you, eventually, it took me another 50 years after I was saved, more than 50 years after I was saved, to actually come to God. But he led me there, and I eventually got there. And when I got there, I could see that. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So I believe that if somebody was saved and they fell from God, by the end, they were saved again. Or they were never saved in the first place. That's my belief. It's way different than any other Christian belief. Well, no, there is some. I found some that say that too. There's a thing. Well, Calvinists believe that, but they believe it in a completely different way. They believe it in a non-free will way, that you don't have any free will. Well, you have free will, but you don't have any real free will, that destiny takes over because God just gives you a destiny. And that everybody else that God doesn't give a destiny to is just going to hell regardless. And I don't believe that. I believe everybody's got the will, because it says it in the Bible. Whomsoever believeth in him, you know. Anyway, like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. You can unfeel it temporarily at times. Like I said, I unfelt it for over 50 years. I was baptized when I was 12. I was baptized again when I was 17. And each time, both times I was baptized, I felt the Holy Spirit inside of me. I literally felt it. I felt it. I walked out of there in euphoria. Just better than any acid trip I ever took back in the 70s. Both of those times were in the 70s also. But I felt it. So from that point on, the Holy Spirit was with me. I just didn't feel it anymore. But every single time I needed him, God was there to pull me out. And that was a lot of times. Through a lot of bad and messed up decisions. God was there to help me. Until my old age, my ripe old age, he finally revealed himself to me. I think that a lot of people get revealed, he reveals to a lot sooner, but he had other plans for me. He had a lot of plans for me, and this is probably one of them. And this is why I find it hard. I know I lost a couple subs already for talking about religious stuff too much over the last couple weeks. But you know what? I can't help it. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I can't emphasize that fact more. Once you feel the grace of God guiding you in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, the Holy Spirit is guiding you, helping you make the right decisions. Whether you still make the right decisions or not is still a matter of free will. But eventually you'll get there, because every day you get better. There's a saying, this is another one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and it's one of the only ones that I can halfway remember, is 2 Corinthians 5:17. And I have it written down. I'm going to read it because I know I'll mess it up. Here is the two verses that totally say what I'm trying to say. For God, this is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whomsoever believeth in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. I got that one memorized. That goes right along with this. This is the starting of your journey as a Christian. And that was the starting. And this is the part that I'm going through now. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if you read it right after the other one, you will have everlasting life. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are becometh new. Goes along with a concept that this religious theologian back in the 16th century, I think it was 16th century, maybe it was it was the 16th century, or maybe early 17th, named Jacques Arminius. He came up with this concept that says that he talks about the mortification of the old man and the vivification of the new man. That means that when you get to a point in your salvation, when you get to a point, which I finally have got to that point, when you get to the point where you are guided by the Holy Spirit, when you are guided by God's grace, which to me that's kind of interchangeable, God's grace and Holy Spirit. God's grace is the thing that is working through you. The Holy Spirit is the thing that is working in you from God. Okay, so from that point where you start cooperating with the Holy Spirit by using God's grace to guide your life, your old self, your old habits, your old bad habits, your old addictions, your old your enslavements, the things that are guiding you that you cannot control, like money, greed, lust, all the 7 deadly sins, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, gambling, whatever it is, anger, whatever is in control of you dies. Little by little, these things die in you, and you become a new man. With each step, you become a better person, and you're killing off your old person. You're killing off your old self and being replaced by a new person. A more glorified person. You're not completely glorified yet. That comes later. That's part of what they call sanctification. Sanctification process. It's a progressive sanctification. And there's also something called entire sanctification. But that's another story. And I'm not even sure if I completely believe in that yet. But I'm working on it. I'm trying to understand it. But you progressively become a new person. It doesn't happen all at once. People talk about a born-again Christian, and that's what they mean by it, as that you're becoming a new person. You're born again. But when you're born again, I think that it means that you all of a sudden become a new person. I don't think it's quite like that. That's where I differ from a lot of modern Christian beliefs. But there are some that believe what I believe, but they also believe things that I don't believe. So I'm taking things from different denominations into one overall belief. And I think that it can reconcile all these different beliefs into one belief, which I think the church is about due for that. if people start thinking about, maybe somebody can take off years later with my ideas and refine them and come up with something that everybody can agree with. I'm probably too old for that to happen to for myself. I don't think that I could do something like that. I don't know. You never know. God works in mysterious ways. But I don't take credit for it. I give all the credit to God by leading me to the right knowledge. I ask every day for better knowledge about this stuff. To show me. I don't want to believe. I don't want to think I believe things. I want to know them. I don't want to do things for selfish reasons. I don't want to hear something and say, oh, hey, that just fits by the way I feel. No, you don't do it by feeling like that. Am I contradicting myself here? I don't want to feel it. I want to know it for a fact. I don't want to feel it for a fact. My feelings, that's my own personal facts. Or however people say it nowadays. My own personal truths. My authentic self. No. I don't want to feel like it's the right thing. I want to know it's the right thing. Deep down inside, with every fiber of my spirit, with every fiber of the Holy Spirit too, I want to know that it's the truth. So I change as my knowledge gets stronger, because I always keep that in mind. It's not what I feel. It's what I know. It's not me. It's God. Everything is for the glory of God and from God. And the more I know of this stuff, it's not me making this stuff up. It's not the Bible making it up. It's God revealing it to us. And the more that is revealed, the better. Going back to one of the first things I said tonight, the more the pursuit of happiness becomes a reality. Happiness is not the goal. The learning is the goal. Happiness is just a good byproduct of it. It's a nice byproduct. And everything seems more peaceful. Everything seems more clear. I don't worry about much. And when I do worry, my worries are instantly answered. Well, not instantly, but really quick are answered, so I don't worry anymore. And it's becoming less and less that I worry. I still have problems, but and like knowledge, they say the more you know, the less you really know. You know, the more you know, the smartest people in the world will say that the more they learn something, the more they realize how much stuff they don't know. And that's how it is. The more I learn, the more I can pinpoint things that drive me that are more man-made than God-made. More man's desire than God's desire. The things that drive me, like personal ambition. No, God has a plan. He wants me to do something. He wants to show me what I need to do. And I'm just along for the ride anymore. And I'm a lot more happier, and I'm a lot more calmer. I'm a lot more patient. Not completely, not perfectly of any of this stuff, but I'm a lot more, just period, a lot more of everything than I was just a year ago. And every day I become more. And I could feel it in not in feelings. That's where I keep making the wrong distinction. It's not in feelings. It's more of a inner warmth of understanding. And it's because I don't need to worry about things anymore. I'm just along for the ride. And God's the co-pilot. Or not, I'm the co-pilot. He's the pilot. And I think that's the way it should be for everybody. Everybody would be a lot happier. And we wouldn't be at each other's throats. Going back to the same thing I was talking about before, the extremism is just total chaos. Either way you go. Total anarchy is total chaos. And total control becomes total chaos because everybody else is confused. And the person that's freaking trying to control you is probably confused too because he can't understand everything. And he's just trying to act like he can. Anyway, God, I've rambled on too long. Too long. Let me check the chat again. Probably, yep, scared away everybody already. So if you're still watching this, or if you're watching this later, doesn't look like anybody's left on here. Man, I just can't help it, man. I understand why people want to share this stuff now. I didn't when I was younger. I just want everybody to feel like this, you know. I want everybody to understand this. I'm not going to force everybody to. It's not up to me. But I just want other people to know that there's other alternatives. There's other ways of seeing things. There are better ways of living. Bottom line is, and this is one thing that even Darcy doesn't understand. I tried to explain it to her. She understands what I'm going through more than anybody, I think. She understands that I need to go through this, and that she also understands how much better I am because of it. But hold on, I need another drink. That throat is scratchy. But she doesn't she asked me a question about, because I used to think that everybody Um, I used to have a more liberal way of looking at religion. And I used to think that just by believing in just by trying to be a good person that you're going to go to heaven. I believe that there are other, like most Christians will tell you, that the only way is through Jesus Christ. I've seen other verses in the Bible that kind of suggest that there are other ways. And I've explained these, I think I explained these on another video. If you're watching this, leave a comment in the comments and ask me, and I'll go over those. But I now really believe that the main way is through Jesus Christ, and you have to fully trust and have faith and ask for forgiveness and ask for salvation, and then you're saved. There are a couple other exceptions, but not many. Like I said, most Christians would tell you that's the only way, but I think there's some exceptions, but not many. You have to fully understand and believe in Christ. Not fully understand. That's where the faith comes in. But I think that it's good to know. Good to know the reasons. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to know the reasons. You just have to trust in God. But anyway, that's for another time, and hopefully I can get through one of these streams. Well, I haven't went through a couple without talking much about religion or politics, but not many. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry if I lose viewers because of it. But I just, like I said before, I feel like it's something that I need to let people know. And I finally understand why people say that in the first place. But they want to share the good news, you know, whatever kind of cliches you want to call it. Yeah, I will try to be back on, well, tomorrow's Sunday. I usually don't make it on Sundays, but I'll try to be back on Monday for sure. Do another live stream of the dailies, and maybe I can get through that one without talking about religion or politics too much. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Leave a like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment, especially if you have any questions about what I was talking about. Especially if you don't even agree with what I'm talking about. Put me in my place. Let me know. Tell me I'm wrong. Prove me I'm wrong. I enjoy debating these subjects. So any comments are good. Anyway, talk to you later. Adios.